What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market as we get ready for the big event to take place tomorrow with the US presidential election. And in today's video, we're going to look through the timing of the markets and see how they've responded during periods of presidential elections. We'll go through 2012, 2016, and 2020, show how we're doing right now as we head up to that, and then we'll all just kind of sit back, fingernail biting, waiting to see how things pan out afterwards. As you can see on this chart, I have marked where the presidential elections were in 2012, 2016, and 2020, and you can see Bitcoin's price action quite dramatic during all of those periods following the presidential election being completed. But it's not just the Bitcoin price chart or the crypto market that tends to do that. That, of course, takes place with broader equity markets at the exact same time. So as we still sit here waiting for the Russell 2000 to be able to break out and expand and have this equity rally broaden out rather than being so consolidated, well, let's take a look at past times when the Russell did expand. This is the expansion of 2020 from the peak that was set back in 2018. Zooming in, you can see that the new high gets set here on Monday, November 9th, and this is where the presidential election is here on Tuesday, November 3rd. Notice that price action leading up to the election for a couple of weeks drew down, and then when we got to Monday before the election, price did go up, then election day up, and then following post-election, we went into expansion. Add the Bitcoin price chart right on top of that, and you can see shortly thereafter, there goes Bitcoin heading off into expansion as well. Head back over here to 2016, and we see a similar story happening in here. Heading up to the election, we can see the markets are selling off leading up to the election. The Monday before the election right here, a reversal starts. There's election day. And then the following week, the Russell 2000 finally goes off into expansion. That then sends Bitcoin to go hit its all-time high and then go off into the expansion as well. Then we head back here to 2012. We can see that heading into the election, we can see the market starting to sell off. We get to election day, prices still continue down for another week. Then for the month after that, we head back up. And then by the time we get to the first week of January, the market goes into expansion. And well, what do you know? So does Bitcoin, where it runs right here from $13 all the way up to over 100. But the consistent thing that we saw in the markets leading up to the elections, both in 2016 and in 2020, was that the market was kind of selling off before that. Then as we got to election week, things turned around. That happened there in 2016 and here in 2020. Leading up to election week, selling off, into election week, reversing. Story was different in 2012, which was 12 years ago, but in 2016 and 2020, they kind of did the same thing. As we could see here for the Russell for the last 2 weeks, it's been kind of that same kind of story. Market kind of de-risking, getting ready for the election. Now, will we see the same story? Will we see the same repeats happen? It's what we're all kind of waiting for. It's kind of the big week. When it comes to specific weeks and specific actual events on 4-year cycles, a block reward halving has nothing to do with it. It has typically been timed kind of with this kind of event, if you're going to pick timing events at all. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we've spent some time talking about how the markets are behaving differently than they were leading into those elections of 2012, 2016, and 2020. That all the indexes kind of broke out together at the same time. But instead, you have this dynamic where you have the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Dow Jones all out, but you don't have the Russell out. So I do think this is going to be a different market than what we all expect if we're looking for things to just do exactly the same as 2012, 2016, and 2020, because the markets aren't the same. I'd put out a newsletter last week diving deep into that, what it's like with rotational tops at markets. Still, they can be incredibly exciting, and this is what I am looking for to happen here in this market during a moment like that. But my suspicion is we'll all get kind of caught up in the timing of things by using 2012, 2016, and 2020 comparisons, thinking it's a normal expansion when it is clearly very different. And it's more likely like a rotational equity top, which is still okay. It still means things broaden out and can get exciting if it does decide to rotate. And these things would still be present and most crypto people wouldn't care. Price go up doesn't mean anything, right? Don't care if it's a rotational top or an expansion, price go up, all good. And I think we've beaten that to death pretty good. And I really wrote all about that last week. So you could check out the newsletter if you want more on that. And we've talked about it in Markets in the Morning and stuff. But otherwise, I think we kind of are at this point where we just kind of sit back and watch this election pass and see if things are going to do what they at least did in 2012 and 2016. And it was the week or two following that where things got really exciting in the market. So that's kind of what we're waiting for. Does the market get through it? And then one thing to take into account here really quick, and I do understand there's a lot of political loyalty that happens to, either Democrats or to Republicans. And I try to refrain from any type of politics in here. I understand everybody has their own life circumstances and that's what matters to them. And I know it's very clear that it's been one side of the aisle that has been incredibly toxic towards the crypto market. However, looking back in here, right, that's Obama winning, that's Trump winning, that's Biden winning. Whatever side of the aisle has won, it has not seemed to impact the immediate price action of the cryptocurrency market following it. Will this time be different? Well, I'll see, but I do want to at least point to that. Also, we will have Markets in the Morning on Wednesday after the election. If we have results by then, one side is going to be incredibly disappointed. One side's going to be incredibly excited. I'm going to do my absolute best to come on and just be super neutral when we go into Markets in the Morning. The thing I'm just going to be focusing on is, are we exhibiting price action of what it looks like to start going to stab for a new high and a broadening out in equity markets? And if we are, then that's very exciting because these are the times where they occurred right here, right now. The week we are in currently was the week the expansion took place in 2016, and it was by next week, which would be equivalent to 2020. So it would be like in this week we start marching it up, but by next week is once it actually started trying to push off into that actual expansion happening. So that's what I care about right now. Is this dingus market going to repeat this exact same stuff over here in equity markets and take a risk-on environment to crypto? If we're looking for timing, this is as good of time as any. We just got to keep waiting for this thing to kind of finish itself off over here in the altcoin market. And it's really just a patience game. But if there's a time to sit back and kind of watch charts really closely, it's really right now, as this has had historical reactions to expansions and new highs, at least in the Russell, and broadening out in markets for the last 3 election cycles. So as we kick off a new week, in regards to actual price action that we've seen for the last few days, nothing really out of line of just the things we've kind of talked about in every video and live stream for the last 2 weeks to see this range continue in the altcoin market. Bitcoin still just sits up in here close to the previous all-time high, as the Russell still just says, I'm not ready to expand yet. But if there's a time to look to historical expansions, we're in the week. Now, what will make this week even more fun is that even after the election on Tuesday, and then we hopefully have results by Wednesday, well, guess what? On Thursday, we have an FOMC meeting to see if the Fed is going to continue cutting rates. Right now, the anticipation is a 25 basis point rate cut come Thursday, so we'll live stream that as well. But as we head into these big weeks and we have an idea of who will be the president moving forward, an idea if the Fed is going to continue this cutting cycle, we'll be looking for signs of either expansion or rotational tops. And like an idea of what rotational top would be that if we see the broadening out of the Russell start to happen and we see the Russell start to climb, but you see things like Nvidia and Netflix and Google and Amazon actually pulling back. That would be money pulling out of that kind of safety trade that's been happening and broadening out into the market. We've talked a lot about that here for the last couple of weeks in videos and live streams, and is also what the big topic was about here on the last newsletter published late last week. So you can check that out over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. It also comes with an audio recording that I personally recorded. Otherwise, welcome to the big week. It's election week. It's Fed week. Let's get through this week, and finally, this chapter can be behind us. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready for it. So hopefully that translates to positive crypto prices and positive equity prices. The next few days are certain to be extremely interesting. So hope you had a nice restful weekend. You can tell my voice is a little bit hoarse, but hopefully that kind of cleans itself up as the week keeps going. Otherwise, I'll check in with you soon in what is certain to be one of the biggest weeks in markets that we have seen in a long time. But all right, that's going to be it for this one. Have a wonderful day, and I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.